So the astute amongst you will notice this is not the studio, and it is not my front room. Yes, I am away somewhere. My brain had turned to mush and decided it was time to take a few days off and go and do something that wasn't normal work. So, as you can see, it is very sunny over there, which is good because I intend to be lying in that sun in about half an hour's time. But I didn't think I was going to be doing this, and the reason I didn't think I was going to be doing this is because my brain had completely turned to mush, and I couldn't think of anything interesting to say. And then, lo and behold, on Friday, into my inbox drops an email from Roland. And the Roland email said, come help us celebrate 404 Day. What is a 404? I said. Because I hadn't got a clue what a 404 is. I don't know what a 909 is. I don't know what an 808 is. I know that 727 and 606. But 404 hadn't resonated with me. In fact, actually, the 404 is the newer model to a model called the 303. I thought the 303 was a baseline unit. Well, there you go. I was wrong on that as well, because the SP404 is a sampling workstation, and it was replaced by the SP404. And for those of you who don't know what an SP404 looks like, that is an SP404. On my trusty workstation. And why are Roland asking to celebrate the 404? Because Roland just introduced the 404 SX. So that's what a 404 is. So anyway, I was sort of thinking, I still don't understand what a 404 is. I've never even looked at a 404. So I thought, wouldn't it be interesting? Well, I think it's interesting anyway. Just to give some rundown on what the 404 actually is. So Roland described the 404 as a sampling workstation. So effectively what it is a device that you can connect up to an input of some description. It actually has an internal microphone, so you can actually sample from the device itself, but you can also set it up with an input. And you can sample sounds onto the device, and you store those sounds effectively on the pads that I showed a second ago. So each one of those pads can have behind it a sample. And to trigger the sample, you effectively hit the pad. Very, very simple idea, which is unsurprisingly that it has been sort of picked up by the DJ sort of house community for making that sort of music. And there is I watched a video the other night on somebody who actually built a house track on one of these things just by taking a sample, using a feature on the device called resampling. Now, effectively what they were doing was playing back from one or two pads and then storing on a third pad and then creating effectively a new sample, and then just keep building the track up by doing that sort of thing. Back in the day, when we first started recording, everybody had a 4-track, well, I don't say everybody, but we had a 4-track test cam machine. Now, I don't know whether anybody remembers the 4-track test cam machine. They used to take a standard audio cassette tape, and because this audio cassette tape effectively has 4 tracks on it, designed for 4 tracks going 2 tracks going one way and 2 tracks going the other way, giving you a stereo on both sides. But the test cam 4-track machine obviously used all 4 tracks going the same way. So you've got 4 tracks that you could record different instruments or vocals or whatever it was onto. And back in the day, what you used to do is you used to say, put the drums down, create a click track, put the drums down, and then you used to bounce the drums down to 1 track, and then you used to put the instruments down, if you like, so sort of the rhythms, the rhythm guitars, the bass, etc., and then you used to bounce them down to 1 track, and then you used to put the leads on, and you used to bounce those onto the 1 track, and finally you got the vocals, and you put the vocals on, and then therefore you effectively created your demo song. But it was quite an interesting exercise, but that's what we used to do. This resampling exercise is essentially the same thing, as far as I can see. So the 404 was launched in 2005, so it's been around about 10 years in the current guise. It's gone through a couple of iterations, so the SX being the latest. There was something called the 404A, which came along in the intervening period. But the 5th of April, which in the UK, of course, is tax deadline date, as in that's the end of the UK tax year, is also 404 day. So that's the 404. It's a wonderful device as far as I can see. Like I say, I've never ever used one. I've never come into contact with one. So, seeing this on the having an email from it was like, it's interesting. So the highlights are, you can tell its age here because it uses compact flash. So every device now uses an SD card. This thing used compact flash. Had an 8,000 note step sequencer. Sounds really interesting. It worked on a concept of grouping. So you would group things into patterns, and you could have 24 patterns. So effectively, you could trigger something to run a certain pattern. So that you could have a pad that would trigger a pattern or a loop, if you like, if that's sort of your terminology. And you could have 24 of those loaded into the machine. So absolutely fantastic for a DJ, somebody in that sort of sphere. Live work, wants to put some beats in, 120 beats per minute, bang, let's go there. You get the drift. It boasts a sampling time, and this I actually had to look up on a couple of websites to make sure I got my facts right. But it boasts a sampling time in lo-fi of 772 minutes. Now that is fairly superb. Admittedly, you have to have a 1 gig compact flash in it, but still 700 minutes of sampling time is pretty spectacular. That moves it from a workstation device to a sort of conference recording device, in essence. Or if you went for hi-fi, you would get 386 minutes, which is pretty good. I mean, 386 minutes is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. That's 6 hours recording time. It would record at 44.4 kilohertz, and it had 29 onboard effects, including things like reverb, chorus, overdrive, and some other things that you might want to use. But it had all the standard effects on it. So, as I said, I think it's a tool that was squarely aimed at the DJ market, that sort of house producer market where you just wanted to sort of run up beats. And I think, and the other big advantage to this thing, of course, is it's small. It's about that big. That big. It would go quite merrily into a rucksack, and you could transport it wherever you went. And when you arrived at the other end, you just got a couple of leads out. You put those leads into the console, and you were ready to rock. It would run off batteries, and it also runs off a 9-volt supply. So there you go. So what does the SX have over the original? Well, they've made some improvements to the recording quality. They've moved it from compact flash to an SD card, which is only right, probably. But what's really interesting about this is when I saw this, so I did some research yesterday on just market prices, and the original is still going for somewhere in the region of £250. Okay, so not bad. The new one is, so the SX is toted to retail around about £380 to £400 mark. So the question really is, for that extra £150, if you like, is the SX worth going for over the original SP404? I don't think it is. I think the original SP404 packs a hell of a wallop. And at £250, that for somebody who's into that sort of style of music production is a cracking piece of kit. Anyway, there was one other thing that came up this week. And again, this was from another email from another major supplier. This time it was from Korg. And Korg turned around and said, we are launching the Korg EX. Now, the Korg EX has been on the cards for some time, admittedly. But they said that they were launching the Korg EX. Sorry, the Korg Krome EX, should I be? I'll be more precise. And I have to be honest and say, the Krome was one of my considerations when I bought the Kronos. Okay, it was a serious consideration when I bought the Kronos. But I wanted the Kronos. I wanted all the ability to fiddle with things and change, all the additional functionalities that the Kronos gave me. But the Krome is a serious piece of kit. And just to give you an idea, if you're a giggy musician and you want quality, top-notch sounds, the engines in the Krome are the same as the engines in the Kronos. You just don't get as many of them. But it has some really, really cracking, top-notch sounds in terms of things like the pianos and some of the pads, etc. And you can pick up an 88 key version of the Krome for about £1,300. Okay, whereas you'll be paying for an 88 key version of the Kronos, you're paying £3,000. So there's £1,700 difference between the two. And unless you want all the knobs and whistles of the Kronos, you know what? The Krome is a cracking idea. So I thought I would just turn around and say, well, think about it. Now, anyway, they've known now. Korg have now gone down the route of the EX. So this is sort of the legacy stuff that they used to do with the old their workstations going back in years. So we had the M1, we had the M1 EX, or they used to call it on the M1R was called the Rex, wasn't it? And we had the T1 and the T1 EX, but the T1, the T2 and the T3, and the T2 and the T3 got a T2 EX and a T3 EX, which was the memory expanded up to meet the T1. I believe they did the same with the Triton and the Trinity. So, it's sort of standard Korg of taking it to the next generation, which may mean that the Krome is coming to the end of life at some point in the next couple of years. But that's irrelevant, because it is a cracking machine. And if you're a live stage musician who wants a complex and cracking set of sounds to play with your band, you know what, you can't go far wrong with that. And the other thing about the Krome as well is it's the same key bed as the Kronos. So there's a lot of interchangeable bits here. You just don't get the full functionality of the Kronos on the Krome. But that's where I'm going to leave it, because there is some serious sunbathing to do, and I need to soak some sun up to recharge the old batteries. See you later. Live long and prosper.
So this is the point in the video where I turn around to you, my viewer, and say, if you enjoyed the content of this video, please give it a thumbs up. The way the Google and YouTube analytic engines work is that the more likes you get against a video, the more it gets promoted by YouTube and Google, and therefore more people with the similar interests to what you have and I have get to see this content. This channel is driven by my love of music technology. That's what it's called, the Music Tech Guy thought. If you've got queries, want to ask questions about themes or issues I raise on this channel, please, please, please do. Put your comments into the comment section below the video, and I will try to address whatever issue it is you've raised or whatever question you've raised. If it's something to do with me making future videos in terms of how to do something on a particular piece of equipment I possess, please feel free to say that as well. I can't promise to make videos on all the requests I get, but I do have a jolly good go at making most of them. Around about here is the subscribe button. Again, to do with the YouTube and Google analytic process, the more subscribers the channel gets, the more the channel gets promoted, and the more people get to see the content that you have obviously just watched. If you want to see my latest video, it will be in one of these two boxes on this side of the screen. Also, there is a second box there, and that video will be chosen for you by YouTube based on your YouTube preferences. I look forward to the next time that we interact, and I do mean interact because I always enjoy reading your comments back to me. But for now, bye-bye.